Let's be honest, at some point in life we've all made bad decisions. Some of us have said things we regret, walked away from people who cared about us, or wasted opportunities we now wish we had back. And if we're really honest, we know what it feels like to hit rock bottom. But here's the real question. When we mess up, do we deserve a second chance? Well, that's exactly what Jesus' famous parable of the Prodigal Son is all about. A story that goes way beyond a rebellious son and a forgiving father. This is a story about grace, identity, and the power of unconditional love. And today, we're going to break it down and uncover what it really means for you and me. So if you ever felt lost, unworthy, or too far gone to turn back, stick with me. This story might just change the way you see yourself. Let's dive in. Picture this. A wealthy father has two sons. The younger one, he's impatient, ambitious, and let's be real, kind of entitled. One day, he does something shocking. He goes up to his father and says, "Dad, give me my share of the inheritance right now." Now, let's pause here. In ancient Jewish culture, asking for an inheritance while your father's still alive is basically saying, "I wish you were dead." It's not just disrespectful, it's a complete rejection of the family. But what does the father do? He gives it to him. No argument, no guilt trip. He just hands over the money and lets his son go. And what does the son do? He takes off to a faraway country and starts living it up. We're talking luxury, wild parties, and spending money like there's no tomorrow. In today's terms, imagine blowing your entire savings on VIP clubs, designer clothes, and first-class vacations. For a while, life's good, until reality hits. The money runs out, and just when things couldn't get worse, a famine strikes. No food, no friends, no backup plan. He's broke, alone, and desperate. So he takes the only job he can find, feeding pigs. Now, if you know anything about Jewish culture, this is as low as it gets. Pigs were considered unclean animals, and here he is, not just working with them, but so hungry that he's literally staring at pig food, wishing he could eat it. At this moment, something clicks. He thinks, even my father's servants have food to eat, and here I am starving. Maybe I could go back home. I know I don't deserve to be his son anymore, but maybe he'll take me back as his servant. So he gets up and starts the long walk home, rehearsing his apology speech the whole way. Now here's where the story takes a turn that no one saw coming. While his son is still far away, the father sees him. Now let's pause again. How does the father see him from a distance? Because he's been waiting, watching, hoping. And instead of standing there with his arms crossed, ready to give a lecture, the father runs to him. Now, in that culture, older men didn't run. That was considered undignified. But this father doesn't care about dignity. He cares about his son. When he reaches him, the son starts his prepared speech. "Father, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son." But the father doesn't even let him finish. Instead, he does three things. 1, he hugs him before he even cleans up. 2, he gives him a robe, a sign of honor. 3, he puts a ring on his finger, a symbol of full acceptance back into the family. And then he throws a feast, because in his words, "My son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." Now, let's be real, this is not what the son expected. He was hoping to be a servant, but the father doesn't treat him like a servant. He restores him as a son. And just when you think the story's over, there's another twist. Remember the older brother? Well, when he hears about the celebration, he's furious. He refuses to go inside and says, "I've been working hard for you all these years, and you never threw a party for me. But this guy wastes your money on wild living and you celebrate him? Well, that's not fair." Now, let's be honest. He's got a point. If you've ever felt like someone else got an undeserved reward while you worked hard and got nothing, you know exactly how he feels. But the father says something powerful. "Son, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate because your brother was lost and is found." And with that, the story ends. Jesus leaves us with a question. Who do you relate to? This parable is not just an ancient story about two brothers and their father. It's a mirror, a reflection of our own struggles, failures, and misunderstandings about love, grace, and self-worth. So let's dive deeper into the 3 major lessons of this story and how they apply to our everyday lives. Number 1, God's grace is bigger than our mistakes. The younger son did everything wrong. He was selfish, disrespectful, wasteful, and reckless. He walked away from the very person who loved him most. But here's the shocking part. His mistakes didn't cancel his father's love. Most of us live with this performance mindset, the idea that our worth is tied to how good or bad we've been. We think if I do good, I'll be loved. If I mess up, I'll be rejected. But grace doesn't work that way. Think about it. The son had nothing to offer when he came home. No money, no success, no proof that he had changed. Yet the father ran to him, embraced him, and restored him immediately. This is a picture of God's love for us. No matter what you've done, no matter how far you've fallen, God's grace is always greater than your mistakes. How this applies to us? If you've ever thought, I've messed up too much for God to forgive me, remember, God's love isn't based on your past, it's based on His nature. If you've ever felt unworthy of love, realize that God's not waiting for you to fix yourself before coming to Him. He wants you now as you are. If you've ever run away from God because of shame, know this, He's not standing with arms crossed. He's running towards you with open arms. This truth breaks the cycle of shame and frees us to accept love that we don't have to earn. Number 2, you're a child, not a servant. The younger son had a plan. I'll go back to my father and say, I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. This tells us something deeply relatable about human nature. When we feel unworthy, we think we have to work our way back into acceptance. We try to prove ourselves. If I'm a good person, maybe I'll be accepted. Or if I fix my mistakes, maybe I can earn love back. If I just try harder, maybe I can be valuable again. But the father completely ignores his son's plan. Instead of hiring him as a servant, he restores him as a son. This is a powerful reminder. God doesn't want employees. He wants family. How this applies to us? You don't have to earn God's love. The father gave his son a robe, a ring, and a feast. Before the son did anything to deserve it, God's love is freely given, not based on performance. Stop living like a servant when you're a son or daughter. Many people believe in God, but they still act like they have to earn His approval. But your identity isn't based on what you do. It's based on who you belong to. You have full access to God's blessings. The son didn't just come home. He was restored to his full inheritance. Many of us live spiritually poor, thinking we don't deserve God's blessings. But just like the father said, everything I have is yours. This lesson challenges us to stop striving for love that has already been given. Number 3, don't be the older brother. At first, the older brother seems like the good guy in the story. He was responsible, obedient, and loyal. But when his younger brother was welcomed back with open arms, his true heart was revealed. Instead of rejoicing, he was bitter, resentful, and angry. Why? Because he believed a dangerous lie, that his good behavior should have earned him special treatment. I've worked for you all these years, and you never threw a party for me. In other words, I did everything right. I deserve more. This is a mindset that many religious people fall into. The belief that if we follow the rules, we are more deserving of God's love than others. But here's the truth. Grace isn't fair, and that's the point. The older brother thought love was something you earn, but the father reminds him, you've always been with me, and everything I have is yours. In other words, you were never missing out. You've always had access to my love and blessings. How this applies to us? Beware of spiritual pride. It's easy to look at others and think they don't deserve forgiveness as much as I do, but grace is for everyone, not just for those who think they've earned it. Celebrate God's grace for others. If we get angry when someone receives grace, it shows we don't fully understand it. Instead of resentment, we should rejoice when people find their way back home. Don't miss what you already have. The older brother was so focused on what he deserved that he forgot he had always been with the Father. Many of us spend so much time wanting more that we miss the blessings we already have. This lesson teaches us to let go of entitlement and embrace a heart of gratitude. Jesus didn't tell this story just for entertainment. He told it to challenge us. So where do you see yourself? Are you the younger son, feeling lost, ashamed, or too far gone to come home? Are you the older brother, frustrated when grace is given to people you think don't deserve it. Or maybe you're starting to realize you've been living like a servant when God has always seen you as his child. No matter where you are, the invitation's the same. If you've wandered away, come home. You don't have to fix yourself first. Just turn back and you'll find open arms waiting. If you've been striving for love, rest in the truth that you're already accepted. And if you've been bitter, let go and celebrate grace. Not just for others, but for yourself too. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just a story about a lost son. It's a story about a loving father. And the good news, that father is still waiting. If this story spoke to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more deep, powerful Bible lessons that bring real life meaning, subscribe to the Bible Unveiled and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Because the truth is, we all need grace. And the good news, it's already been given. See you in the next video.